Good day to all our friends around the world, and welcome to those that are here for the first time. Please join us for another fascinating story being told by the Crime Unfiltered team. Please encourage us to create more content like this by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, commenting, and sharing with all your friends and family. Today's story is on Chapter 2 of the Bester 9. As we prepare for the court case tomorrow, we have taken the time to scour the internet streets for news captions that will get you all up to speed and ready to follow the next installment of this mind-boggling story of the Bester escape. Grab a drink and enjoy the ride as we present the remaining story so far.
The timeline of Thabo Bester. In 2011, Thabo Bester was convicted by the Durban High Court for the rape of two women he lured through Facebook and was sentenced to 50 years imprisonment. In August 2012, Thabo Bester was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment by the Western Cape High Court for the murder of his girlfriend Nomfundo Kulu, a Johannesburg saleswoman. In 2011, she was holidaying with him in Cape Town at the time of her murder. In August 2018, Bester poses in prison as a chairman of the 21st Century Media scam event and production company that hosts glitzy launch at the Hilton Hotel in Sandton. Ground Up reveals Bester business activity in March 2023. Between September 2020 and March 2022, Bester's partner, Nandipha, Magudumana, and a man identifying himself as Katlehokwana, but who is believed to have been Bester, were renting property around Hyde Park and meeting with property agents via video call, claiming he is overseas. In May 2022, Correctional Services reported that Thabo Bester burned to death in a solitary confinement cell in Mangaung Maximum Security Prison. Department of Correctional Services revealed that the charred body found after the fire broke out at the Free State Mangaung private prison was not that of the convicted murderer and rapist Thabo Bester. The department confirmed that all evidence indicated that Bester, also known as the Facebook rapist, escaped from jail on the 3rd of May 2022. A manhunt has since been launched to search for the fugitive who was serving a life sentence for murder and rape at the maximum security prison operated by security company G4S.
Bail applications for Sineho Matwara, Teboho Dipolo, Mutenyane Masukela, Diego Mahota, and Nastasia Janssen continued for a second day at the Bloemfontein Magistrate Court. They are all implicated in assisting Thabo Bester escape the Mangaung Correctional Center in May 2022. An investigating officer took to the witness stand. He detailed how accused number 1 Matwara got hold of the corpse that was used as a decoy.
Applicant number 1? Applicant number 1 is the one who took in the corpse that was placed in the cell in Group 4. It was a corpse that was coming from National Hospital. That corpse was claimed by Nandipha Magudumana. So during that particular time, Mr. Matwara did not have a gate pass to gain entry. At the back of the van, he was loading a TV stand. And together with the TV stand, there was also a bag that contained the corpse that he had brought there. This vehicle drove into the yard and headed to the workshops. And the workshop was opened and the TV stand, as well as the corpse, were taken into the workshop.
We now know that the corpse in question is that of the late Katlego Bereng. He was laid to rest last week. The investigating officer explained that Matshwara and Dipolo then took the corpse into Bester's cell. He was then given a G4S uniform to walk out of the prison.
According to Mr. Dipolo's explanation, on the 2nd of May at around 2:30 in the morning, Mr. Matshwara gave him a call saying that they should meet outside but still in the prison facility. That's when then they went to place that same corpse inside cell 35, which was initially occupied by Thabo Bester. This inmate was provided with the uniform of the G4S, and subsequently this inmate walked out with Mr. Dipolo out of the prison center.
After a lengthy cross-examination by the prosecutor, the magistrate postponed the bail applications.
Case is remanded until the 16th day of May 2023, same court number 28, for further evidence on bail application. All 5 of you will remain in custody.
Good afternoon, Slindelo. So while we await for next Tuesday, just tell our viewers what happened today.
Quite an informative day in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where, Bradan, for the first time, a lot of what we've been seeing on social media, a lot of the reports that media houses have been releasing in the run-up to the arrests have actually been confirmed. We were told about how Dr. Nandipha claimed Katlego Bereng's body with a man called Zander Moyo. She claimed to be assisting this man to claim the body of his brother. Ultimately, we know that that body was Katlego Bereng, the body that was planted in Thabo Bester's cell. We then heard details around how police have gathered evidence in their investigations about how he lost his life, as well as how his body was transported or taken from the mortuary by accused number 1 during a fake funeral, in essence, Bradan. We know that instead of Bereng's body being buried by Dr. Nandipha, she and the co-accused actually buried bags of mealie meal, which were exhumed by the police. We know that that funeral was used as a decoy for accused number 1, Sinuhe Matshwara, to take possession of the body and bring it to the Mangaung Correctional Center. And that was the body, of course, used as a decoy and planted in Bester's cell. For over a year now, Bereng's family, of course, we know, has been wondering what happened to their loved one. And there was a particular moment in court where the state prosecutor asked the investigating officer, how did the family eventually find out that Bereng's body ended up in that prison cell? And he says it was through, of course, those DNA tests that were done on his mother, confirming only this year in April that, in fact, her son was the one who was found in that cell. And in fact, the investigating officer becoming quite emotional, just telling the court how the family has been angered, how they've been just heartbroken, and to hear how Katlego Bereng's body was treated by the accused. Let's just take a listen to what some of the investigating officer had to say about Katlego Bereng and how he passed away.
It was from National Hospital. Do we know how that person died?
Ha go tele morao postopo seo o reng le Matshwara o ile a sisa ko tronko o so itse stopo seo se ne se claimiwe go tswa ko national setopo se claimilwe ko national wa tsela motho o shile jwa
motho patient la o la tholwa a le taxi rank a wele.
That patient was found having collapsed at the taxi rank.
mo e le goreng o ile a isiwa sepetlele ka ambulance tsa di-emergency service.
Whereupon this patient was taken by the paramedics with an ambulance to the hospital.
Ke mo e le goreng go ya ka di-doctor o dula a tlhokalla sepetlele a ntse ba ne ba mo resuscitate.
And according to the doctors, the patient died at the hospital during the resuscitation, when the doctors were trying to resuscitate him or her.
Bueno, uno itse ke sugar level ya hae ho thwe e ne le tlase.
And this patient had been diagnosed for having suffered from a low blood sugar level.
Indeed, a lot of stuff coming out there today. I mean, there's a lot that people want to understand about the body, but also about how Mr. Bester, in fact, ended up and how he actually left or walked out of Mangaung. Slindel?
Certainly so, and now we got a clearer picture, Bradan, in terms of what the state is alleging against the accused, how they've linked them to the escape, how they've outlined each of their roles in this particular escape. And it does look as if not only has one of the accused confessed, but the state has a paper trail in terms of money that was deposited by Thabo Bester in the account of accused number 1, Sinuhe Matswara, who was then mandated to pay all the others who were involved in the escape. In particular, we know Matswara received at least 150,000 rand. We know accused number 3, the CCTV technician, he was promised about 2.5 million rand, but only got about 40,000 rand for his role in the escape. And we know that one of these control room operators, Deco Makotsa, received about 14,000 rand. So far, those are the people we know who were paid for their role. The other accused, like Nastasia Janssen, as well as Mutenyana Masukela, we understand were not paid. But what's also interesting, Bradan, is that Tebogo Dipole, the investigating officer, detailing that in fact he is the one who walked out of prison with Bester after giving him a G4S uniform as a disguise. Let's take a listen.
This inmate was provided with the uniform of the G4S.
Yes.
Me e le goreng inmate enana e le a tswa le ntate Dipholo go tswa ka hara prison center.
And subsequently, this inmate walked out with Mr. Dipholo out of the prison center.
Why a G4S uniform?
Why not wear your G4S uniform?
Ke dumela gore a tshwane le basebetsi ba G4S worship.
Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi has challenged Dr. Nandipha Magudumana to take his department to court. Motsoaledi disputes Magudumana's claims that she was abducted from Tanzania after she was captured along with Thabo Bester. Bester faked his own suicide to escape from the Mangaung Correctional Centre in May last year. The minister also says the department intends to revoke Magudumana's passport. ENCA reporter Muluko Moloto has the story.
Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi says he is shocked that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana hasn't cited him and his department in her court action challenging her deportation from Tanzania in April.
Now, for the legal team of Dr. Nandipha to go to court and challenge their bringing here as having been illegal and what did they call it? An abduction. And then in the documents, they don't code Home Affairs. We think there's something sinister about that.
Motsoaledi says Bester and Magudumana were lawfully deported to South Africa following a process led by senior Home Affairs officials. He adds the department intends to revoke Magudumana's passport.
If the person has been deported and has been brought to the country at the expense of the state, you are aware that we had to hire that chartered flight for 1.4 million rand. It's at our expense, and the law is very clear in that regard, that if that is the case, then we've got the right to revoke that ID.
Meanwhile, the minister has apologized to celebrity Dr. Patience Ntshani for publicly saying that when she applied for a second passport in 2019, she deposed an affidavit claiming the first one had either been lost or stolen. Motsoaledi, however, argues that Ntshani's two passports were in Bester and Magudumana's possession when the pair were captured in Arusha. The minister insists Ntshani had said she asked the two to help her secure a job in the United States.
Yeah, no, I still stand by it because it's in the affidavit, whose copy we have got. It's not me who said so. She's the one who said so. So it's not me standing by it. It is written in an affidavit taken by under oath by her. That's exactly what she has done, which affidavit she deposed with the police.
Dr. Magudumana will be challenging the legality of her arrest and deportation in the Free State High Court on Thursday, arguing the South African police arrested and forcefully abducted her, whereas they had no jurisdiction to do that in a foreign country.
Magudumana wants to be discharged. She has filed papers in the Free State High Court where she's seeking an urgent audience. This is where she will challenge her arrest in Tanzania in April. In papers before the court, the 34-year-old says her detention in Biza Makheta Correctional Center in Kroonstad is unlawful. Magudumana says on the 6th of April, members of the South African Police Service arrested and abducted her. She claims that on her way back from Tanzania, she was blindfolded by police. Magudumana will argue before court on Thursday that members of the SAPS had no jurisdiction in Tanzania to arrest and charge her. She's facing charges of aiding and abetting an inmate to escape, defeating the ends of justice, arson, fraud, and violating a dead body.
But let's not forget that, remember, Dr. Nandipha, she has suspended her bail application, which is the bail on its own as an agency. Now, you want again to make an application for the agent to be released while you suspended your agency for bail application. According to our South African law, it's not likely to say that this application is agent.
Meanwhile, Senue Maswara, Tebo Dipulu, Mutanyane Masukela, Tieho Mahota and Natasha Jansen are still fighting to be released on bail. The defense has questioned the evidence given by the state witness linking the accused to the escape. It adds that the witness does not have tangible evidence that the accused would pose a threat to society if granted bail.
They need to prove and convince the court tomorrow on their arguments that is in the best interest of justice for their accused, all of them, to be released. Remember that the link has been determined and has been proven by the defense to all the accused that there is a link towards the crime.
Magudumana has provisionally suspended her bail application. Her urgent application in the Free State High Court will sit on Thursday. Kamagelo Siekwi, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
So exactly a week ago, lawyers for Dr. Nandipha Magudumana approached the High Court here in Bloemfontein with an urgent application to challenge the lawfulness of her arrest and detention. They claim that she was abducted in Tanzania and arrested by South African police who were clad in full uniform, something that they say they do not have the jurisdiction to effect. Now, as a result, they've brought this urgent application right here at the Bloemfontein High Court, but the matter couldn't proceed after we learned that lawyers for government, that is the NPA, as well as South African police, did not or were not ready with their own papers. They haven't filed their papers as yet, and as a result, it was proposed that the matter be postponed to allow for them to file their papers. It was also postponed in order to recognize the addition of the Home Affairs Minister, that's Aaron Motsoaledi, as the sixth respondent in this case, after Motsoaledi had demanded that he be added to this matter, saying his department was at the forefront of effecting that deportation of Magudumana and Thabo from Tanzania. Now, as a result, we have to wait for the lawyers for Motsoaledi to file their papers, and they've been given until Monday. The matter will then return to the High Court next Thursday, where we will hear a full hearing, effectively, where arguments will be made on the lawfulness of her arrest and her detention. For now, though, we wait for all lawyers to file their papers to this very court, and we prepare for next week's sitting. Eyewitness News at the Bloemfontein High Court.
After a lengthy bail hearing, Thabo and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's co-accused on Monday finally learned their fate in the Bloemfontein Magistrate Court. Sinohe Matwara, Debuho Dipolo, Mutenyani Masukela, Tieho Machota, and Nastasia Janssen were implicated in helping convicted murderer and rapist Thabo escape from the Mangaung Correctional Center in May 2022.
According to the charge sheet, applicant number 1, Mr. Matwara, is facing 13 charges. Applicant number 2, Mr. Dipolo, is facing 10 charges, namely 3 counts of fraud, 2 counts of violation of a body. Applicant number 3, Mr. Masukela, is facing 5 charges. Applicant number 4 is facing 6 charges. I therefore find that the interest of justice do not permit the release of the applicants number 1, number 2, and number 3, and number 4 on bail, and as such, bail is denied. Applicant number 5 is facing 3 charges for her to be released on bail. State did not prove beyond reasonable doubt that the interest of justice does not permit her release on bail. Consequently, she is admitted to a bail.
Our client must have made contact directly or indirectly with said witnesses.
So that is the breaking news at this moment. Just very quickly, I see Nastasia Janssen's mother here. Auntie, hoe gaan het? Hoe voel jy vandag? Nastasia het bail gekry. Sy gaan huis toe gaan. Hoe voel jy? How do you feel?
Ek voel baie bly. Ek is verlig. Die stres is verby.
Die stres is verby.
Ja.
Alright. Baie dankie, mama. Nastasia Janssen's mother there speaking to us says she's relieved. Recall breaking news at this particular hour. Nastasia Janssen is the only one that has been granted bail here today. The presiding magistrate in his judgment basically saying that there is a prima facie case against the first, second, third and fourth applicants. Let me bring in the family of the Berengs who had been praying this morning, hoping that bail would not be granted for these applicants in this matter. Mampopi is also here together with the mother of Kadleho Bereng. Perhaps let's try to get a response from her. Mama, Beribata Nakonyana, Mama, uzizwa kanjani? At this particular point, 4 have not been granted bail, 1 has been granted bail.
I feel so happy. Very, very happy. Very, very happy. I say thank you, God. Thank you, my Lord. Thank you, Katleho. Thank you, my father. Thank you, my grandmother. Thank you, my ancestors. Thank you very much.
Mama, we won't keep you long. Thank you very much indeed. As well, you see some of the family members, of course, that have been coming through. Mampopi, Bereng as well, just some of the family. That, of course, breaking news will take you through to this particular side. Now, I'll ask my colleague You see some of the embracing that is taking place here, my colleague, some of the hugging that is taking place, of course, much. Let's bring in the National Prosecuting Authority. A good result, certainly, for you, Paladi. You had been, as the National Prosecuting Authority, against the applicants receiving bail. Going good for you there on 4, but of course on 1, Nastasia Jansen has bail. Your reaction to the judgment?
Well, we welcome the judgment in respect of accused number 1 up until applicant number 1 up until applicant number 4, because from the start of the bail application, we were convinced that it would not be in the best interest of justice for the accused to be released on bail, and we got exactly what we are looking for. But in respect of applicant number 5, we respect the decision of the court. What we are hoping is that she's going to abide by all the bail conditions that were attached.
Right, thank you very much indeed. The National Prosecuting Authority, take a look here. This just some of the reaction, of course. The National Prosecuting Authority, the family of Katlego Bereng, of course, with this morning been praying that there would not be any bail granted to the accused today. This is certainly, the families. We saw Nastasia Jansen's family amongst those who are commenting to SABC News that they are very happy that at least she's granted. We heard the magistrate indicate that there is a prima facie case against accused 1, in fact, applicant 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, we're going to cross to my colleague Kamugelo Siokwe in just a moment, who will be speaking to some of the other family members as well. And there are family members, of course, who had been at the court this morning. We've already spoken to the family of Nastasia Jansen, and we'll see if there is. All right, some of the family members at this particular stage are indicating that they are pleased with the outcome, of course, that being Nastasia Jansen's family, who SABC News spoke to a bit earlier on. The National Prosecuting Authority. Let me just bring in the lawyer here representing Nastasia Jansen, Gary Buerta. Gary Buerta, yes, all right, you seem to be hugging me at this point. Yeah, I guess you're hugging everyone. All right. All right. Your client obviously, got bail in this instance. I'm sure you're quite pleased with the outcome of this. There are some conditions, however, that she has to abide to. Those are strict bail conditions.
That is indeed so. That is strict bail conditions. She paid a bail of 10,000 rand. She must report to the Heridal police station Fridays between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and she must not make contact with state witnesses directly or indirectly. That means now ex-colleagues, but I will advise my client at this stage not to make contact with any ex or G4S employees that is currently working at G4S. So, but we're happy. The judgment, the magistrate, the judgment was fair, the judgment was right, we're happy, and at the end of the day, it was our version from the start. You don't have a case against me. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Gary.
Outside court, the family of Katlego Bereng welcomed the outcome.
So happy. Happy today. Happy. Like you say, happy Hakaluka Musadu Ona Lebana Baba Hole. Yenona Lebana Babo 16, 7 years. Katlogona Lebana ba 3 years, 4 years. So Yena Banaba Baba Hole, but it's fine. Ki 2 minutes just fell today. Ka Horabasaba Korea bail.
Jansen's lawyer, Gary Porter, said he would start with trial preparation soon.
The judgment was fair. We got bail in the amount of 10,000 rand. Conditions is our client must have made contact directly or indirectly with state witnesses. We've passed phase 1 now. They're getting bail. So we're going now for phase 2 is for trial. But I guarantee you now, during trial is going to still be a not guilty verdict. I guarantee you that.
Thank you very much for agreeing to speak to us, especially you've just been home for a couple of moments. What does it feel like for you to be home after spending 29 days in jail. You've been granted bail of 10,000 rand.
Good afternoon to you too. I'm just very happy to be back home with my kids, my family, to be in my own space. Yeah, it was a tough 29 days. Yeah, I'm just happy to be home. And then also correctional service was also a really big support there as well. The guys really treated me well that side. I'm just happy to be back home.
Were you surprised on the day that you were arrested?
Yes, I was very shocked. I was very surprised also because I've been assisting also with the case. I've given my full cooperation. I did what was needed to do or what was asked of me. So the day of the arrest, they did not even inform me they are arresting me. They picked me up at home, and when we got to Park Road, that is when they informed me that I'm being arrested for aiding and abetting. Apart from the Bester was wearing G4S uniform. I only remember opening for my supervisor when he ran out, when he came to the entry building or to the control room to inform us what was happening there at the cell. But I cannot remember even opening for a group of guys or more than one guy.
In your mind at the time, was there something that you felt was amiss?
No, I did not find, nothing was strange. It was like a normal night.
And then when did you learn that there'd actually been a prisoner that had escaped from the facility that you were working at?
I learned it in August last year. So it was a big shock because I could not believe that. I was told by one of the investigators, I don't want to name.
Yeah. No, please stay away from names.
Yeah, so she said to me that they did a DNA test and the DNA shows that it's not Thabo Bester. It's really disappointing that I've been drawn into this thing whereby I knew for a fact I've been maintaining my innocence, that I'm not even part of this thing, and I'm being dragged into it, and not only myself, my family and my kids are also being dragged into this thing, which is very painful.
Do you believe that you're being framed?
Yes, I actually do believe that I've been framed because especially with the people that I've worked with, they know my character. They know I'm a very strict person when it comes to my work. I would never do something without an instruction of a supervisor or instruction from a manager or director. And they also know when it comes to my work, I'm very strict. I do things as it's supposed to be, and I say what needs to be said, whether they like it or not. So it actually hurts a lot if I think more. I don't want to think about this too much. It really hurts.
You were then subsequently in December dismissed from work.
Yes.
What were the reasons given for that? Was it pressure, perhaps, mounting that someone needs to take responsibility for what had taken place?
Yeah, that is what a company usually does. Somebody had to take the fall for that. Unfortunately, it was us. Let me talk about myself. Unfortunately, it was me.
So you maintain you have nothing to do with the escape of Thabo Bester from prison? That's your version?
Yes, I maintain that I'm innocent. There's no way that I can let an alleged of a convicted rapist out of prison, whereby I myself have 2 daughters. And with the world around, as you can see it, there's no way you can do that. My daughters is my first priority. There's no way I will do something like that. And what is nice of this whole story is that my daughters believe me. When I tell them that I'm not involved in this thing, because they know my character, they know what, I'm a very strict mother to them. They know even at home with my family, I'm very strict. They know I want things done and I want them done the proper way. So there's no way I would even think of doing that.
Nastasia Jansen, thank you very much indeed. We really do appreciate your time. Very difficult to thread through this particular interview, precisely because we don't really want to delve too much into a case that is ongoing. But of course, SABC News is speaking exclusively to Nastasia Jansen, who says she maintains her innocence. She's had nothing to do with the escape of Thabo Bester. She says she does believe that she was framed.
This is courtroom 19, where Bester is appearing from Pretoria, sporting a new haircut. He's appearing virtually.
Thabo Bester made his second appearance in the Bloemfontein Magistrate Court on Tuesday, but he did so virtually. This is due to security risk concerns raised by the Department of Correctional Services. Bester is currently incarcerated at the Kgoshi Mampuri prison in Pretoria. This is following his escape from the Mangaung Correctional Center in May 2022. When the virtual court proceedings started, Bester's attorney, Ryan Ishmael, withdrew from the case.
The attorney, Mr. Ishmael, addressing the court.
I heard him.
Right. He informs the court that he is withdrawing from record as attorney of record.
Okay. That is fine.
Thank you. Application by Mr. Ishmael to withdraw as an attorney of record is hereby granted.
In another courtroom, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana also made a virtual appearance. She faces a raft of charges including fraud, corruption, violating a corpse, and harboring and concealing an escaped offender. Last week, Magudumana provisionally abandoned her bail application. Magudumana's father, Zolile Sikelani, also made a brief appearance in Bloemfontein on Tuesday, while the other 5 co-accused in the matter continued with their bail hearing. Proceedings will resume on 19 May. Bester, Magudumana, and Sikelani's matters have been postponed to 20 June for further police investigations.
Satisfied without having received any form of documentation that confirms that the person before the court is indeed Thabo Bester, then we don't have a problem. We just wanted the court to be satisfied. Because the only thing that is in possession of the court, like previous appearance, Your Worship, it was only the J50 with the name of Thabo Bester, nothing else.
Is this really Thabo Bester? That was the question posed to Magistrate Mohlolo Kabisi when Bester made a virtual appearance in the Bloemfontein Magistrate Court last week. His lawyers wanted him to make a physical appearance and implied that the man locked up in Pretoria might be someone other than Bester. He's used a range of aliases including Tom Mutsepe, TK Nkwana, and to date has no ID book or card. But the Department of Home Affairs fixed that last week when they finally issued him with a birth certificate and ID document.
Here is Thabo Bester's ID. In the case of Thabo Bester, Mr. Matsaung conducted that process, the LRB process, with a tribunal. And on the basis of that, he was issued with an ID. There are stories that no, we only issued the ID because there was a DNA done. And it will give people an impression that we only issue IDs after DNA. No, that's not true. The DNA was not done by us as part of an LRB process. It was done by police. Of course, it came in to help, but it was done by police in their own investigation, and they found that is matching that of Thabo's mother, or at least the woman who told us that she is Thabo's mother. So he had nothing to concede. All the information was there.
Home Affairs was accompanied to the Kgoshi Mampuru prison by Bester's mother, Maria Mabaso. She told News 24 that she was relieved to see her son in person.
TV kapa phone o ke se kholo ho betere ha mmona na malana ma ba nrile le kwa go lo etsa ID ke mmona ngwana ka straight mare ha se Thabo wana ke mtlwaetseng a lokilwileng ba ro right ka mdumedisa ba shapu ra bua le ena ra etsa ID ga qeta but nna ke le ga ba le shock engwe e batleng tshwarisa penye ka maleng but ila feta but vana va le mo ba la van support ila feta then ramungela iji.
Meanwhile, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and her legal counsel filed an urgent court application citing that her arrest from Tanzania was unlawful and that she was abducted.
Ndo was opened on March the 13th this year. Ndo was arrested on March the 25th and was later released on bail. A protection order was also issued against the accused. Approached for comment on the matter,
I'm still attending my matter even to date. So yes, I can confirm that it's indeed true. The mere fact that I'm going through my own personal issues, it does not necessarily mean or doesn't necessarily take away the fact that I'm still a lawyer. If there was going to be any bearing whatsoever, I think Legal Practice Council, which is a body that governs legal practitioners, they would have acted by now or suspended me. But because these are still allegations which are still going to be tested in court, obviously they wouldn't want to do anything that will actually have an impact on me as a practitioner. Hence, I'm saying that I don't see it having any negative impact whatsoever insofar as the matter that I'm dealing with is concerned.
While advocate Jeremiah Pila, who faces fraud and corruption charges, didn't want to be drawn on the matter much.
Our matter with Mr. Ndo have nothing to do with Thabo Bester. Thabo Bester, as our client, is having his own matter that is coming on the 20th of June. And we will be able to attend to his matter to the finality, as long as we still have the instructions from Mr. Thabo Bester. Any person that has got allegations leveled against them, they have the right to go and present their side of the story, to go to court and defend themselves. The court will hear all the evidence from different parties and make a determination whether someone is guilty or not.
Pila goes on trial from June the 26th, and it's unclear at this stage what bearing this will have on the Bester matter. Crisalda Lewis, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Rapist Thabo Bester's instructing attorney Chireledzo Ndo is facing attempted rape and assault charges. Newsroom Africa understands that Ndo is out on bail and the matter is before the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court. Both the instructing attorney and the advocate representing Bester are criminally charged in separate matters. Newsroom Africa's Linda Mnisi has the detail.
Chireledzo Ndo of Tindo Attorneys Incorporated came on record with advocate Jeremiah Pila as convicted murderer and rapist Thabo Bester's new lawyers in May. Ndo was appointed after Bester's former legal team, Ishmael Attorneys, issued him with a notice of withdrawal. He showed up as Bester's lawyer nearly 2 months after he was charged with attempted rape and assault. Documents obtained by Newsroom Africa detail how the 27-year-old allegedly called the complainant to his house where an argument ensued. He then allegedly held both hands of the 34-year-old woman and hit her 4 times on the face before dragging her to his bedroom, where he allegedly pushed her to the bed and tried to undress her. Ndo is out on 1,000 rands bail, which the state did not oppose. His bail conditions include not making direct or indirect contact with the victim. According to the National Prosecuting Authority, Ndo will be back in court on the 21st of June, the day after Bester's next scheduled appearance. Ndo is represented by criminally charged advocate Jeremiah Pila. Pila is an advocate working with Ndo on Bester's case. During the last court appearance, Pila wanted the court to satisfy itself that the man before court was indeed Thabo Bester, but his request was dismissed. According to papers obtained by Newsroom Africa, Pila's case dates back to 2017. He is charged alongside Takalani Mangalo with offering to accept a benefit and attempted extortion. According to the charge sheet, Pila and his co-accused unlawfully demanded 2 million rands but ended up getting 200,000 rands from Chitwa Samuel Ndwandwe. This was allegedly to influence the tender board to appoint Ndwandwe's security company. The pair allegedly attempted to apply pressure on Ndwandwe in a bid to ignite fear by threatening that they would cancel the tender awarded in favor of his security company unless he paid them 2 million rand. In July 2017, News 24 reported that the security tender was for a TVET college, the Motheo Technical and Vocational Education and Training. They further detailed how Bela served as the deputy chairperson of the TVET college, while Mangalo was an employee of the Free State Department of Roads and Transport. Bela remains a practicing legal practitioner, as he has not been found guilty on the allegations. However, the Legal Practice Council says investigations emanating from this case were instituted. Bela has refused to comment on this matter. His trial will resume 6 days after Bester's appearance, 26th of June, and run until the 30th. Ndou also remains a practicing attorney, and the LPC has not yet instituted investigations against him. The council says it usually allows processes to unfold when there is a charge against any legal practitioner. Should any of them be found guilty, then the LPC can make an application for their removal from the role on the basis that they are not fit to practice the law. It says it operates on the presumption of innocence until proven guilty while investigations continue. Ndou has refused to comment for now. For News from Africa on Channel 405, I'm Lean Damnisi.
Minister Motsoaledi also said the department has obtained legal advice to revoke Magudumana's passport.
The continent, a ninth suspect arrested in connection with the grand prison escape of convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester has appeared in court. Zimbabwean national Zander Moyo, 31 years, was arrested on Sunday and made his first appearance yesterday. He joins 8 other accused who are all believed to have helped Bester escape from prison in May last year.
Joining us this morning on Breakfast Central is journalist and editor Dr. Candice Bailey to give us the latest on this appearance. Good morning, Dr. Candice. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, also. Morning, Olive.
All right, just share with us, some basics about what happened in court yesterday. It seems like more is getting unraveled, with this case.
Indeed, also, it's really just the story that keeps on giving. Zander Moyo did appear in court yesterday. It was his first appearance, so it was quite a brief appearance in court. He made it to court without any legal representation and then told the court that he needed to consult with his family. In fact, he needed to contact his family. The court then offered him what we offer a legal aid, which is the free legal service that the state offers people who cannot afford to represent themselves. And after that, his appearance was then postponed. But it's basically a first appearance to confirm his particulars, to confirm where he stays and that he is who he says he is. And it was basically a first appearance.
All right. And let's talk about the role that Zander Moyo played, in terms of there have been conversations about collecting body under false pretenses. So I want you to give us a clear picture of the role that he played.
Indeed, Olive. So currently Zander is facing 4 charges, one of fraud, one of harboring and concealing a prisoner, and then also, one of violating a body. Now, what we understand is that Zander was with Dr. Magudumana when one of the bodies was collected from the mortuary. Now, you'll remember as this case has been unfolding, there were bodies that were used as replacement bodies for when Thabo Bester had escaped and his body had allegedly burnt in prison. And then there were also bodies that were used for insurance fraud. Now, what we understand is that Zander Moyo or Dr. Magudumana had said that one of the bodies she was collecting was that of the brother of Zander Moyo. It was obviously not correct, but that was the case. It also appears that Zander was the driver. When Thabo Bester had escaped, he had driven him off. And the last way that Zander appears to be involved in this case is that one of the times that Thabo Bester had booked a accommodation, Airbnb accommodation for Dr. Magudumana and some other people, Zander was one of the people who stayed in that accommodation. So he is appearing to be part of this case a lot more than initially seems. As the case unfolds, we'll understand what his role is more and more.
Okay, I also want you to, share a little bit about, some controversy that I've also seen on this case, about certain people who may have been targeted, maybe because of the revelations, happening around the case. There's the Lovu, I'm not sure how that name is pronounced. There's also a story that I'm seeing about a Free State Police investigating the sudden death of Brigadier Jackson Mkalesi, who is known for bringing Thabo Bester to South Africa from Tanzania. And so, do you have any information as to some of these attacks that might be happening around the case? Of course, Brigadier Jackson, rather, is reported to have committed suicide, so that may not be, related. But share with us what you know.
So there have been various allegations that have come around this case, also. The first is definitely of Brigadier Jackson Mkhalesi. So as you know, he was the lead investigator in the case, and moments after Dr. Magudumane's appeal of her incarceration had failed, he then committed suicide. Now, we don't know what the circumstances are around the suicide, but we do know that it took place. And obviously, police are now looking into that. They're obviously looking into whether or not there's a link between him and the case, and whether there were any other issues that need to be looked at, and why he would have committed suicide so soon after that judgment, if there is a link at all. He was quite a high-class officer. He was a brigadier. The eulogies that have come off of him, I've said that he was quite a dedicated officer, so we're not sure if there was any foul play involved, but police are obviously looking into that to see where that is. Other allegations that have come around in terms of the case, we know that one of the people who had been duped by Dr. Magudumana and Thabo Bester, her name is Dr. Pashi. She's also known as Dr. Medeki Nchoni. She has also come out telling us exactly how she paid millions of rands in bribes not in bribes, but to Thabo Bester and to Dr. Magudumane, thinking that she was going to meet Oprah Winfrey in a women's conference that was going to be held, and she paid this millions of rands over to them, thinking that she was paying for a private jet for Oprah Winfrey to come to South Africa. Now, she is saying that she is speaking out because there are other people that have also been targeted in the same way, that are obviously not willing to speak up, but she is cooperating with police, and her interview with one of the local broadcasters in South Africa does indicate that there are probably going to be more arrests in this matter in weeks to come.
Right. So we have more arrests in this matter in weeks to come. We have Zander Moyo, who allegedly, has been said to have committed some of these crimes and is facing a 4-count charge. What's the next step, especially as regards his case and the Thabo Bester case in general?
Thanks, Olive. So Zander Moyo's case was postponed to the 20th of June. And what he would then do is he will then be appearing with all the other accused in the case. We know that there are 4 accused that have not been granted bail in this case, but there are some that have been granted bail, but they will all be reunited on the 20th, where the case will start. Zander is likely to be able to apply for bail in that instance. So is Dr. Magudumane. Whether or not she will apply for bail is another story, but we'll have to wait and see until that day to see how the case further unfolds. But definitely very interesting so far.
Very interesting indeed. Thank you very much, Dr. Candice Bailey, for bringing us this update. We certainly would look forward to speaking with you again.
On the decisions of the appellate division in the cases of December and Mahala, to which I have referred, and which cases I am bound to follow, I therefore find that the application cannot succeed. I make the following order. The application is dismissed with costs, including the costs of 2 counsel where so employed by respectively the 1st to 3rd respondents and the 6th respondent. Thank you. The court will now adjourn.
Closer. I do see Mepo Bereng, who of course we know is the auntie of Katlego Bereng. You've been following court proceedings quite closely. Are you satisfied with this judgment today?
100% satisfied. Not surprised though, because the way, considering the way SAPS and NPA had been handling the matter, so far we are 100% satisfied.
All right, thank you so much for your time, ma'am. Pleasure. All right. I do also see, of course, we have Dr. Nandipha's lawyer who is currently on the
deportation. I'm going to try to move slightly to just get more reaction on this ruling that was handed down a short while ago by the court. Some of the people that have been supporting Katlego Bering's father from his very own organization, Action SA. Thank you so much for your time. Reactions on this ruling?
You can see my face. I am so relieved. I never slept because, anything can happen in the court of law. But I'm excited and we welcome the decision that has been made by Judge here, Ntate Lobsha, to say that this matter, they've lost it with cost. But what is important here is Action SA, we believe in the rule of law. No one is above the law. So we're happy about the decision here. And for us, Dr. Nandipha, really, it clearly shows that she has lost touch with reality. Even being a medical doctor, when you serve people, there's an oath that you have taken to respect life. Here, she doesn't care. She's selfish. She doesn't care about Katlego that have been killed into this incident, that the family, the country, were still grieving over this thing. But it clearly shows that when you have money, you can play around just to play so that you cannot stay in court or you cannot stay in jail. But what is important here today, it clearly shows that we are clearly getting to justice. Let them stay behind the bars, and we do believe that many people, because you heard, they are busy with the investigation, more arrests are imminent. So that's what we want. We are so relieved.
All right, thank you so much for your time. So those are the reactions only coming out of the Free State High Court. It seems, this ruling has been welcomed, particularly by those who had been opposing Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's application. But from her lawyer's point of view, it seems this is not the end of the road. What they want to do, and will definitely be doing, is taking instructions from her, which will then kind of pave the way forward in terms of what exactly they are going to do next. A lot of legal analysts were telling us initially that they don't see this matter ending at this court. It's likely to go to the Constitutional Court. But of course, we await the next move and what they will do next in terms of, the outcomes of the consultations that they are yet to have with Dr. Nandipha Magudumana.
Linda Mnisi, thank you very much. Getting reaction on the back of this decision by the court to dismiss Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's
I also do see that we have a representative from Action SA that has also been actually following proceedings quite closely here in the High Court. This is the chairman of Action SA here in the Free State, Ms. Patricia Kotana. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe just give me a sense as to how you view this particular judgment. I see a smile on your face.
Yes, you can see that I'm relieved.
Why are you relieved?
I feel like jumping.
For you, does this seem like a judgment that was quite thorough in terms of the facts of the matter? And perhaps do you find that, Dr. Nandipha, despite what looks like an extradition, she should still remain behind bars?
Definitely, Dr. Nandipha, she has so much to answer to the South African people. We are here because we want to know what happened to Katlego Bering. And for me, Dr. Nandipha, she's somebody who's very selfish. She has lost touch with reality. For her to come and, in the court of law, just to come and talk about how she's being arrested, she doesn't care about the people who have lost their life, the family that are still grieving for their loved ones. It clearly shows in South Africa when you had money, you will use your money just not to come and face the music or to come and face the court. But I really welcome the decision of our magistrate, Ntate Lobsha, to make sure that they've lost this case with cost. I know they're still going to come back to appeal this matter, but at the end of the day, South African people, we are not going to fold our hands. We believe in the rule of law. They must remain in jail and they must pay, they must be held accountable for what they did.
Thank you so much. All right. When we have a moment, Dumelo, we will be speaking to Dr. Nandipha's lawyer just to get a sense as to whether there will be any appeal processes and whether, of course, this is a blow in their matter in the magistrate's court. It does seem as though, of course, that she remains behind bars for now. And, of course, we see whether or not she will then take up that process to apply for bail.
All right. Well, of course, colleague, as we await to, I suppose, hear more of those reactions out in court. This, of course, at the back of those breaking news that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's urgent application has been dismissed with costs. Let me head to Avi Wemtila, our senior reporter.
We head now to South Africa, where Dr. Nandipha Magudumana has accused South African police of kidnapping her when she was returned to South Africa. The doctor is accused of helping serial rapist and murderer Thabo Bester to escape from prison. She was arrested in Tanzania and returned to South Africa in April. Now, she's challenging her arrest, saying that it was unlawful.
Now, well, joining us to examine this story for South African journalist and editor Diane Hawker. Good morning, Diane. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Morning to the viewers as well.
All right, and a lot of people would say that the drama continues in South Africa. And of course, I've said it repeatedly, the Thabo Bester story is one of the wildest that, we've ever spoken about on television. But of course, let's dig into it. Dr. Nandipha has taken the Department of Home Affairs and the police and the National Prosecuting Authority to court. Let's understand better what her main objection is.
Well, initially, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana was going to apply for bail, just like the other accused in this case. But then she decided to rather actually sort of attack the arrest that took place. She's gone to the High Court in Bloemfontein to try and have the arrest declared unlawful. She's saying that the police basically kidnapped her and also provided incorrect information about how her arrest took place, and is saying that that is outside of the legal processes. In her affidavit, she says the NPA and the police need to come to court with their hands clean, and as a result, believes that her arrest should be declared unlawful. This would essentially mean, if a court does agree with her, that they would have to either re-arrest her or follow a different kind of process to get her to appear in court.
Oh, wow.
Well, she is claiming abduction, which seems quite like it is certainly a serious allegation. So talk to us about, how she hopes to justify this complaint, and importantly, how the people of South Africa are taking this new turn and this new development in the case.
Well, interestingly, in her affidavit before the High Court, Dr. Nandipha is saying that she wasn't arrested by Tanzanian police, as was initially indicated by the South African police minister. Instead, she's saying that her arrest was effected by South African police on Tanzanian soil. And that would be, quite a strange situation to unfold, and essentially an illegal situation if that is correct, because South African police do not have the authority to arrest people outside of South Africa's borders. And Dr. Nandipha is saying that by the South African police alleging that her arrest was done by Tanzanian authorities, they have essentially lied to the court about how she was eventually arrested. And also she's saying that the dates that they've given to the court are incorrect. She says that she was initially detained on the 6th of April and was only brought back to South Africa almost a week later. On the police's arrest warrant, which was submitted to court, it gives the date of the 13th of April. So there is about 6 to 7 day gap, which Dr. Nandipha is saying that she was held by the South African police in Tanzania while waiting to be returned to the South African borders.
All right. Well, her case was due to be heard on Friday, but it was delayed. But, tell us what happens next, and also, what is she hoping, to happen? If she was illegally arrested, according to her claims, does that in any way, maybe destroy the strength of the case against her?
If she was illegally arrested, it would create a big problem for the SAPS. So the process that she's gone to is she's gone to the High Court to challenge the arrest. The criminal case is being heard in the Magistrates Court, and the High Court is obviously a level above that court. And she said that the High Court should rule the arrest as illegal. If the High Court agrees with her and rules the arrest illegal, essentially she would then have to be released, so she wouldn't have to apply for bail. And then the police would then have to make a decision as to whether they try to re-arrest her or what they do in that process. Of course, the National Prosecuting Authority have said that they will oppose this matter, and they are going to go to court and argue against what she has alleged. So the court is waiting for the National Prosecuting Authority and other parties in the case to actually put forward their full argument as to why Dr. Nandipha shouldn't be released as a result of this alleged unlawful arrest. They will have to motivate to explain what process they followed, and we also now have heard that the Department of Home Affairs will also be submitting an affidavit to explain the process that they followed in bringing, or they were involved in bringing Dr. Nandipha back. Now, the question is whether this was an extradition or whether it was a deportation, and that's how Home Affairs has also now gotten involved. If it was an extradition, it has to be done within the certain prescripts of South African law. But if it was a deportation, there's different legislation that would have to be followed for that purpose. And that is where the court will have to decide if the correct laws were used and whether the correct processes were used to bring Dr. Nandipha back.
All right. I mean, from what I hear, we're waiting for evidence from the National Prosecuting Authority. So have they actually said anything about this case? And do we have an update on Thabo Bester as well?
The National Prosecuting Authority have said that they will oppose this application, obviously, because, this is a significant part of their case. They allege that Dr. Nandipha was central to the escape of Thabo Bester, that she was intricately involved in his escape. So she is part of those who are accused because of her alleged role in, helping Thabo Bester to escape. As far as Thabo Bester is concerned himself, one of the initial issues that delayed his part of the case was his lawyers he changed lawyers in the middle of the process. So he now has new legal representatives, as well as he was saying that he doesn't have, helping Thabo Bester to escape. As far as Thabo Bester is concerned himself, one of the initial issues that delayed his part of the case was his lawyers he changed lawyers in the middle of the process. So he now has new legal representatives, as well as he was saying that he doesn't have a South African identity document. So there wasn't any proof, he was saying before the court, that he is actually Thabo Bester. The Department of Home Affairs has provided him with an identity document, a South African ID card, and he is expected to appear in court again later in June, as well as the other accused in this matter, some of whom are applying for bail, using different reasons and different legal arguments.
I want you to quickly respond to this I just saw this comment now. It says here, I think we can wrap up with this maybe. It says here, me, if I were Dr. Nandipha, I will just plead guilty, mitigate and show remorse to the court to enter into a plea bargain. It says all these stunts she's pulling right now are going to work against her. So I want you to quickly, speak on that, and if these are some of the views that other South Africans share.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your full question there, but I did see that you mentioned something about pleading guilty. So I'm assuming that you're talking about whether Dr. Nandipha would be pleading guilty. That is an option for her if based on the legal advice that she receives. In South Africa, there is a possibility that you can plead guilty or even enter as a Section 204 witness. If you are a Section 204 witness, you are essentially someone who was involved in the alleged crime, but you've decided to help the state with their case. Dr. Nandipha has not chosen to go with this route, although it is an option for her. Her charges haven't been put to her as yet because it's still at the bail application stage. And she's decided to stop her bail application rather to go with this process. So if she does go on to be charged, she can still plead guilty and then give evidence to the state if she so chooses. Or she or any other one of the accused can also try to get a plea bargain with the state and try and become a Section 204 witness, which would basically mean that they would turn as a state witness against the other accused. There are many possibilities in this case, and we have yet to see how it's going to unfold, because the bail part is really just the beginning of the whole legal process.
Well, there are many interesting angles to this. We're seeing that Thabo Bester's, or we're reading that Thabo Bester's team is considering following the same path that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's legal team has applied. That is, of course, challenging how he was brought back to South Africa. But we're just going to have to wait till the 1st of June on Thursday to see what the court decides on this matter. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Surrounding the senior officer's death remains subject of police investigation. He is also the provincial head of organized crime in the Free State province. Brigadier Mkhawulesi has been with the SAPS for 31 years.
I think the passing on of the investigating officer in this matter is not going to impact negatively on the investigations. However, it will retard progress. Remember that there's a speed at which we are expecting this matter to be expedited.
Advocate Molete believes that this can only delay the process a little on the matter.
The investigation team will have to go back and check for the suitable replacement for this investigating officer who has since passed on. But at the ultimate end, he will be replaced by one competent investigating officer, and ultimately we will achieve our desired outcome.
Police say the deceased officer has proven himself to be a highly skilled detective with a wealth of knowledge and experience. The family has asked for privacy as they try to come to terms with what happened. Konelo Lekgafola, SABC News.
One-year-old Zimbabwean national Zander Moyo cut a lone figure in the dock in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where he made his first appearance. He is accused of aiding and abetting murderer and rapist Thabo Bester to escape from prison. Moyo faces charges of violating a dead body, fraud, as well as harboring and concealing an escaped offender. In the charge sheet, it is detailed that Moyo, through false pretenses, claimed and collected an unknown body from the mortuary of National Hospital in Bloemfontein in April last year. It's alleged that Moyo claimed that the body belonged to his brother Themba Ndlovu, who was a taxi driver born in Zimbabwe. That body was later identified as Katleho Bereng and was used as a decoy in the escape plan of Thabo Bester. It was found in Bester's jail cell.
Sir, your request is hereby granted. You are afforded an opportunity to consult family members to consider issue of legal representation. The case is hereby remanded until the 20th day of June 2023. Same court, court number 28, for bail information in terms of section 50 subsection 6 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977, and for your decision regarding legal representation. You will remain in custody until then.
Moyo's home language was also questioned by the prosecution, saying he needed to ascertain his language for the court to proceed with ease.
And I would also want him to be certain about the language, because he's a Zimbabwean, and I can follow from his responses that he's not that good in Zulu, that he claims he's speaking. So he must be certain.
Moyo's case will be added to the other accused and he will appear alongside them on June 20th. Kamogelo Siekwi, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
As per count number 2, violation of a body.
Request that we adjourn for now.
Okay, got the gents. Thank you.
Thank you.
A ground-up article on Zander Moyo says, and it reads, during the bail hearings of 5 of the accused last month, the state alleged that Nandipha Magudumana, Besta's girlfriend, claimed 3 bodies from morgues in Bloemfontein, one of which was used in the escape. The state alleged that while claiming the second body, Magudumana told officials at the morgue that it was the brother of her friend, Zander Moyo. A fake funeral was held for the man, and police later found that the buried coffin was filled with maize meal. Groundup has also seen evidence that Besta made a booking via Airbnb for Nandipha Magudumana and 3 other people to stay in a luxury house in Balito between 19th and 30th of April 2022. The booking cost a total of 90,800 rand. Among the guests who were given security access to the house were Zander Moyo and Zander Moyo. Copies of their Zimbabwean ID documents were given to the landlord. The Bester 9 are scheduled to be in court tomorrow. Some, like Thabo Bester, may be via video link. We hope more revelations surrounding the saga will be revealed to us, and more people will be identified and arrested in the next coming days and weeks. Make us your choice for a summary of the events related to all headline crime news. Only facts and no fiction is covered on this channel. The team at Crime Unfiltered hope you have considered joining our growing informed family by subscribing. Take care of each other.